This is Shir 25 in our series on Avodas Habitachon. Today, we're going to confront one of the critical theological thresholds in our series. Is there an actual direct causal connection between your physical effort, hishtadlus, and the tangible results that manifest in your life? Or are we operating under a deep psychological illusion? Let us look at the first ultimate historical blueprint for human sustenance, the collection of the mun. In Parshas B'Shalach, Perek Tesayin Pasuk Yud Ches, the Torah states with absolute, unchanging precision, "Vayimoidu bo'imer v'lo yehetiv v'hamarbe v'amamit lo yehechzir ish lefi achlei lekatu." Hashem established a rigorous boundary for daily bread, a single fixed allocation known as an omer. The reality on the ground shattered all human logic. The individual who aggressively gathered a surplus discovered that his pile had automatically shrunk down to exact omer, leaving him with no surplus beyond what was decreed. Conversely, the individual who gathered a meager, seemingly deficient amount suffered no deficit whatsoever. He too was left with a perfect omer. The Malbim extracts a monumental lesson from this verse. He notes that the people who overexerted themselves to gather extra mun did so because they lacked deep reliance and were not fully beiteach in the Master of the universe. Because of this deficit in faith, they actually suffered a severe net loss. They foolishly traded away irreplaceable precious hours that they could have utilized for spiritual execution. Specifically, the Malbim mentions tefillah. On the flip side, those who gathered less actually profited immensely. By minimizing their labor, they reclaimed valuable hours for higher pursuits. The Malbim seals this with an uncompromising rule. A person's physical, feverish efforts possesses absolutely zero power to manipulate or expand the decreed outcome. To cement this reality, he leverages the famous verse, Shav lechem vashkim kum, it is vain for you that you rise up early, the pasuk that we have already woven into our last year. The Mishnah Berurah anchors this exact text directly into the daily halachic process in Siman Aleph, commenting on the rule laid down in the Shulchan Aruch that is highly meritorious to recite Parshas Haman every single day. The Mishnah Berurah explains the deep psychology behind this custom. It was instituted specifically to re-engineer your mind, to solidify your emunah, and to make you internalize that the entirety of your mezainis, your sustenance, materializes solely through hashgacha pratis, divine providence, precisely as mirrored by the decree, "V'lo yehetiv v'amarbe v'amamit lo yehechzir." The Mishnah Berurah explicitly codifies that this parsha stands as an unyielding warning. Ramping up your physical hishtadlus yields absolutely zero profit. He introduces a powerful passage from the Yishalmi in Brachos. Anyone who makes it their unshakable habit to recite Parshas Haman every day is granted a divine guarantee. Miftach loy shaloi yismatu mizoinosav. It is promised to him that his sustenance will never decrease. This reality stands because the daily declaration of Parshas Haman fortifies a person's emunah and supercharges their bitachon in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Thus, the Mishnah Berurah aligns flawlessly with the Malbim. The ultimate takeaway is that there is an absolute complete disconnection between the physical volume of labor you execute and the final amount of parnasa allocated to you from Hashem. This framework is reinforced by the words of the Mesilas Yesharim in Perek Chof Aleph. He rules that the singular ultimate shield capable of guarding a person's wealth and insulating him from devastating financial losses is an unyielding bitachon, where he casts his burden entirely and exclusively upon Hashem. Yashlich Yahavoi al Hashem legamre. A person must achieve a crystalline realization that it is a metaphysical impossibility for him to be lacking even one microscopic crumb that was already mapped out and decreed upon him by heaven previously. The Mesilas Yesharim notes that this is the literal mechanics behind the classic statement in Masechtas Beah, Daf Tazayin Amud Aleph, Kol mizoinosav shel adam ketzuvim loy min Rosh Hashanah v'ad Yom HaKippurim. All of man's sustenance is decreed from him from Rosh Hashanah till Yom Kippur. This reality is double locked by the Gemara in Yuma Daf Lamed Ches Amud Aleph, Ein Adam noigeya b'muchan l'chavera afilu kim loy nimo. No person can touch that which is prepared for his friend even by a hair's breadth. Every single soul has an explicit measured, predetermined amount of parnasa waiting for them, and no human force can alter, touch, or diminish that decree. The Mesilas Yesharim exposes a shocking reality. Because your livelihood is fully locked from the outset, a person could technically sit around completely idle without lifting a finger, and a divine decree from Shemayim would still fulfill itself down to the final cent. He would receive his exact parnasa cleanly from the raw weight of the decree of Shemayim alone. Why then do we trudge out to work? It is strictly a consequence of the kanas, the penalty or the tax that we've unraveled in our previous shurim. By the sweat of your brow you shall eat bread. Because of that universal tax, a formal obligation was levied upon mankind to display the motions of Ishtalis for the necessity of Parnasa. We are playing out an external script that Hashem structured upon our reality. The Mesilas Yesharim delivers a monumental concluding line that encapsulates this entire dynamic. Ach loi hishtadlus hu hamoyel elo hishtadlus muchroch. But it is not the effort that is effective. Rather, it is simply necessary. Do not confuse necessity with causality. Your hishtadlus has zero efficacy. It does not build, help, or generate the outcome. The labor is merely an arbitrary entry fee you are forced to pay because it is a kanas and an gzeira. You must execute the action, but it possesses absolutely zero direct physical grip on the entire volume of sustenance that flows down to you. This profound spiritual law is brought down to earth by an extraordinary incident preserved in Avodas v'hanhagos l'beis bris chelik aleph omid ayin hey. The text records a legendary story that perfectly impacts the psychology of effort through the life of the Brisker Rav. Mendel Chechik, an intimate household member of the Brisker Rav, related that one Shabbos afternoon, right before Mincha, the household was waiting to assemble a minyan, but they were stuck at 9 men. They lacked a 10th person. The Brisker Rav turned directly to son Rav Rafal and issued a practical command. It seems to me that you need to step outside and try to find a 10th person. But immediately as his son turned to leave, the Brisker Rav halted him with a piece of hashkafa. You likely believe that when you step out the door to hunt for the 10th man, your physical walking, your looking, and your searching are direct cause bringing that person here. That is an absolute illusion. You're going to walk out and search for one specific direction, but our 10th man is going to walk in from a completely different side of the neighborhood altogether. However, stepping out to look is our non-negotiable chiv ishtalis. We are commanded to go through the motions of searching. The chronicle concludes with a stunning validation. Raphael walked out to look in one explicit direction, and while he was searching there fruitlessly, the 10th man materialized and walked into the minyan from a completely opposite direction. The effort was mandatory, but the result came from an entirely independent channel. In our next year, we will continue to strip away the illusions of human effort and dive deeper into the fundamental truth.